How we doing, everybody? And welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It's a little bit earlier than usual. Got basketball practice tonight. Can't miss that. They told me it's in my contract. I got to be there. So, hey, we're a little bit earlier, but that's okay. Lots to get into tonight. And if you're in the comment section tonight, make sure you're sending comments, opinions. The text in line is up on the screen there, the 715 number. You can text into the show. Let us know what you're thinking, what you want to hear about, anything like that. But we got a big night. A big weekend of sports coming up here. I got Aaron, the co-host of the show here. He's back tonight. Aaron, how we doing on this Friday?
Pretty good, right? Pretty good. It's there's a lot going on I mean, from the whole Jake Paul thing to, obviously your Badgers playing a pretty good opponent tonight. NFL. I mean, we saw some of that last night. Just a lot of sports going on, which is always good with me. And yeah, it was I felt like this week was kind of fast. I don't know about you, but the pace was kind of faster than normal, which is a little strange, but I don't want to question it. I don't want to question that.
That is true. That is very. We just get it's this time. It's the daylight savings time messes with you, and then all of a sudden it's like nighttime, and it's the end of the day, and it's over with, and I don't know. It's all whack. It's all whack there. That game last night, the Commanders and the Eagles. Why you're down by 2, you're driving, you get stopped. I like being ballsy too sometimes, but to go for it, kick the field goal, take the lead, or to go for it. Now I mean, yes, the Eagles still had the pressure to go down the field and score. And maybe that's what they were thinking was this Eagles team is starting to feel it again. We don't want to come away with 3 points. We want to come away with 7. But I mean, Aaron, you're a Philly guy. You're watching that game. Not really what I expected. I saw the 3rd and 2, and then they didn't get it. And I was like, okay, they're going to kick a field goal, take the lead here. Then all of a sudden it's, turnover on downs. And I'm like, why are we doing this now?
Yeah, I'm no, I right there in alignment with you there. I thought, excuse me, I thought Washington, like offensively, they were having their struggles, and at the time, I think it was like 12-10. Eagles were winning.
Yep.
Um, so I mean, that's a very low scoring game, especially in this day and age of the NFL. Like and obviously Jake Elliott has not shown that he can, kick at all consistently last night. Like he was missing like a guy was almost basically useless at one point. So. Yeah, I mean, I would have definitely, if I was Washington, taken the points there, get the 1 point lead, force the Eagles to go down the field, right? And who's to say they get in the red? Like Washington was controlling the Eagles in the red zone really well, so it was like, let's say Philly had to kick it again. Who knows? They might have not made the kick. Like we could be sitting here saying Washington pulled it off. Like I was totally against that. Like I was happy they did it for the sake, and then the whole play I think got discombobulated because he went to go hand the ball off, and then the guy didn't look like he was ready to receive the handoff, and then he just took it out to the outside and got stuffed. But yeah, that was mind boggling for sure. I would have been in the same position as you. Take the points, low scoring game, force the Eagles to go down there. And who knows, Eagles might have went for it on 4th down because they don't trust Jake Elliott last night. So anything could have happened at that point.
Just not you want to say it was I don't know. The analytics had to have been telling them one thing, right? The analytics had to have said, you guys got to go for it here. And I mean, if you get it, we're not talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. They're like, that was the smartest move in the world. Like, but
Mhm.
in that situation, it's like, come away with the points, live to fight another day. Now the Eagles don't start at whatever it was at 25 or whatever it ended up being there. And they start out, say you pin them back down at the 10 or something crazy. I mean, it's just all the ways that game could have changed right there. The Commanders have had their problems scoring as of late here. I mean, you watch a couple games in a row now. The Steelers game, they were impressive, but the game before that, you look at the Bears game, struggled a little bit. So we'll see what happens with that Washington team coming into next week. But we got a matchup coming up tonight here on Netflix. Jake Paul taking on Mike Tyson. Aaron, you're my betting guy. What is the line? What are they telling me right now? Well, who's the odds-on money favorite right now to win this matchup?
Well, actually have not. I should know that, right? You put me on the spot there, but my thoughts are gonna be that Tyson's gonna be favored. Probably. This is like so weird, right? I mean these exhibition fights, like and then Tyson gets asked about, is this for legacy? Should he be doing this? Is this a whole thing? Like, but let me pull that up for you right now. As it is, yeah, on Netflix. Like everything about these like exhibition things are. I mean, it's fun. I don't hate on it. It might sound like I am, but it's just strange. Yeah, I mean, Jake Paul is pretty heavy favored at drop 200. Mike Tyson at plus 160. So they're probably just going on the fact that I think not. I'm not going to say all these fights have been rigged, but you can't tell me some of these fights are not rigged that he has fought. So I mean, I don't know. I think maybe closer to when this fight starts, you might see the line get close, the odds get closer and everything else like that. Um, I mean, everybody thinks like, oh, it's Mike Tyson. He's not going to be, but I mean, Jake Paul, what? I don't think he lost like one fight or something like that. I can't even remember at this point, but he's beaten people you would never think he would beat. So it's like, is it surprising he's favored? Maybe as heavily as he is, that's a little surprising, but I mean, Mike Tyson's like 60 years old too. It's
He's a
it's
little old,
so
yeah.
it's a strange thing, right? Like it's fun. It's fun, but it's strange.
And the thing with it, if Mike Tyson wins, like fantastic, but if he loses, it doesn't really hurt his legacy or
No.
anything. Like this is just a match. This is an exhibition match. Like it means a lot to Mike Tyson. I mean, you see him slap him upside the face there, but you talk about publicity stunts, and you're just trying to spark up a little something something here, and like that's what's going on. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this is rigged one way or another. If Jake Paul beats Mike Tyson, then the boxing world is like, oh my god, like look at him. He's I don't know. Like it's another match. It's on Netflix. It's on the same time as the Badgers. I'm probably not going to tune into this one, but anybody who's tuning in, great stuff. Like hopefully it fulfills your dreams. I don't know. But
I
I mean, hey, what do we got? Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. Who
I
are we going for?
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, like, do you I'll ask you this and then I'll give you my little 2 cents there, but do you see this being a knockout type of like either way, right? With Paul knocking Tyson out, or I mean, I guess it's more likely that like I said, he's 60. I don't know what he's gonna bring to the table, but Mike Tyson in his prime is like, I mean, that's one of the best ever. So, like, do you think to me, this will be a decision style fight? I mean, I know Paul's knocked out people before, but I think for the entertainment, that I mean, maybe there'll be a knockout in the like latest rounds. But what do you think? Is this like back forth? They dance around a lot, and then boom, like fifth, sixth round, they start just going haymakers and seeing what happens. Or
Hmm. I think they're gonna make it last. They're gonna make this one last. I believe it's scheduled for 8 rounds, lasting 2 minutes each, rather than the typical 3 minutes. And the heavyweight fight will feature 14-ounce gloves, which are unusually heavy. So a little bit of a heavier glove there for this one
oh,
too. Interesting.
maybe.
That's real interesting there. But we'll see, I guess. We'll see how that all fares for him there. Dustin says Mike Tyson is going to absolutely pummel Paul in this one. It will be a second or third round knockout. I like that. I can live with that one. He also went on to say the one boxer you never want to see, no matter the age, is Tyson. This is one guy that when he gets challenged, he flips a massive switch in his head, and that is bad news for. I'm tell you what, this guy looks. I mean, I was looking at their, the weigh-in or whatever, and comparisons between the two guys. Mike Tyson looks good. For a 60-year-old dude, like that dude looks like he could still rock with just about anybody out there. And that, I mean, not Rocky, probably. Rocky would probably put him in his place, but outside of him, I mean, he'd kick that Russian's butt right across the mat. Like that wouldn't even have went 20 rounds like he went against Rocky. Mike Tyson would have beat him in one. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to take Mike Tyson to win it. I'm going to say they'll make it go 5. They'll make it go 5 rounds. Then they'll realize that the viewership went down after the first 2 rounds, and then they'll give it to Mike Tyson in the 5th. I'm going to go 5 rounds in this one. Mike Tyson wins this one. Knockout? Yeah, I'm going to go knockout. Give it to him. Just knocks him out, ends it in the 5th round. Jake Paul cries a little bit. Logan Paul, he's in WWE. That doesn't even count. That doesn't even count as fight.
He did
Come
the
on.
boxing thing for a little bit. I mean,
He sucks so bad he went to WWE where it's pretend.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of. I mean, I'm not gonna say this is pretend, but I think some of these fights are like just orchestrated a little bit.
Oh,
But
yeah. Oh, yeah.
man, knowing that a ton of money is on Paul, I might go. I might go Tyson as well. My gut is telling me that Paul is gonna win, but I'm gonna go against my gut here because I feel like Paul hasn't won, or excuse me, Paul hasn't lost in a little bit. So that being said, I think he's due for a loss, and like you don't want to see Mike Tyson like he's too big of a it's either they're going to paint the picture of like, oh my God, Jake Paul beat a legit, one of the best fighters ever, or it's going to be like, okay, Jake Paul met his match with a guy that's just like he defies the laws of physics because he's 60 years old and he can still, hammer on him. So yeah, I'll go Mike Tyson, but it's just like it's so hard to pick. Like it's I have no good feeling about either side on this one.
No, no.
Some
And
people are
Dustin
really,
actually,
really sure of it, but
right, right. Dustin, he comes and he says the 14-ounce gloves are actually lighter than the normal gloves. Normal gloves are 16 ounces. That favors Tyson, as he will get more power behind those punches there. I mean, yeah, he's got a swinging hammer right now, and you give him a little bit of a lighter glove there, and that's going to definitely help. So, I mean, should be whoever's out there is going to be watching this one. Hopefully, it's a good one for you. I'll be watching what we're going to be talking up next here, and that is Wisconsin men's basketball. They got a big one coming up tonight here against the Arizona Wildcats. Last season, they went to Arizona, not very pretty. It was 23-23 at one point in the first half. And then Arizona closed the first half on a 28-5 run. And from there, the route was on and it was over. I mean, that's, you put it into the words of Joe Krabanoff. And he said, you looked up at the scoreboard at one point there and it looked good. And then you look back up and you're like, oh, we're in a hole now. So they got punched. They weren't able to return that punch. This is a game against a very good, very experienced Arizona Wildcats team that you're going to have to be able to stave off those runs, be able to make something of yourself in this one, make a run of your own, and find a way to keep battling back, right? They had a pretty good game last season there at the Kohl Center early on. It was on Peacock too against Tennessee at the time, and they were number 9 in the nation. So eerily similar because you got number 9 Arizona Wildcats coming into Kohl Center for this one on Peacock, right? So, I mean, it's like looking in a mirror, right? It's like looking in a mirror for that one there. They're going to be honoring tonight at the game, which is pure. I don't know. For Arizona fans, it's going to affect them more than it's going to affect like the players. But they're going to be honoring the 2014, 2015 Badger teams that went on those Final Four national championship runs there. And they beat Arizona 2 years in a row in the Elite Eight. So I don't know. Irony for the fans on that one. Bo Ryan's name will go up in the rafters at halftime. So that's going to be great. That'll be great to see. Hopefully, and if Peacock is smart about anything they ever do, they will show the ceremonies. They will show them both. They will show you the ceremony of honoring the players, and then they will show you them that ceremony at halftime there. I believe Dustin, he says, when does Wisconsin tip off there? We have a tournament tonight in Ohio. Son of a gun, you're all the way in Ohio tonight. They tip off at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock p.m. It might fluctuate. It might, it depends how long that opening ceremony is going to be where they're honoring the players. I don't know how many players for sure will be there. Like I believe Josh Gasser will probably be there. Ben Brust will probably be in attendance. I don't know if Sam Decker will be there. Frank Kaminsky. I bet Frank Kaminsky is going to be in town for that one there. But I mean, I don't know how many players are going to be there, how long that's going to take. They said to be in your seats by 7:40. So yeah, I don't know, right? Those kinds of things sometimes do push back the tip. So, I mean, it's right now says an 8 o'clock tip. I'm going to imagine right around 8 o'clock there, but it could fluctuate backwards too a little bit. I don't know if there's another game on Peacock tonight that could affect the start time of the Badger game too, because they like to get all their games on there. So it's all those variables in there at this point here, but hesitantly 8 o'clock tip for that game. I would imagine right around that time period there. But I mean, Aaron, this is a clash right here, right? We're going to say it's a clash. I don't know. This is a heavyweight battle between Arizona and whatever we're going to expect out of Wisconsin this season, right? Because this is a pretty darn good team, I think. I think this is a good team for Wisconsin at this point here. They got size. They got a little bit of athleticism in there. John Tonje's been showing it off a little bit. They got the ability to shoot the ball out there. So hopefully we see some good things from the Badgers tonight. Some of the keys that I have to this game, some of the keys that I have coming into this one. Last season, Arizona, the guard play took over, right? They had size, but it was a lot in that pick and roll. It was a lot of pick and lobs, right? That they were just manhandling Wisconsin all the way around. So I'm looking at this game and I'm saying Wisconsin has to control those guards for Arizona. You got Caleb Love in there, and then you also got Bradley, two very good, experienced guards for Arizona. This season so far combined, they're averaging about 24.5 points per game. Arizona hasn't had to, I would say, unleash Caleb Love on anybody yet, because right now he's only averaging about 13 points a game. But this is a guy where when he gets hot, or if he needs to get hot, he can ring it up and he can get up in the 20s. He can get up near 30 points per game because, I mean, experienced point guard. He spent some time in North Carolina. Now he's with Arizona. I believe he's like a 17-year senior at this point here, because it seems like he just, I mean, I don't know. They make a new rule to keep him in college basketball every year. Caleb Love seems like he's like 30 at this point here, and he's still playing college basketball. But you got to control those guards. You have to. That is your biggest obstacle in this game, controlling the guards. Because if you can slow them down, I wouldn't say shut them down. It's hard to shut down Caleb Williams, or not Caleb Love. I got Caleb Williams, Caleb Love. But if you can find a way to slow him down, take his game away, take away that pick and roll, which means you got to be good on the defensive side. You got to be able to, control the bigs coming out there and be able to fight through screens. You should have a good shot there. So that's one of the big things I'm looking at. Bradley, he's a guy who can get it going. So far this season hasn't really blossomed into the big time scorer that they wanted to be yet, but this is a guy who can get it going too. So you got to watch out for him. Arizona is more athletic than Wisconsin. I'm going to tell you this now. They are more athletic than Wisconsin. They have better, faster athletes than Wisconsin has, which can show up on either end of the court, right? It can show up on either end of the court. But my biggest worry is it's going to show up on the defensive end for Arizona. Because when Wisconsin comes down offensively in this game, you cannot expect guys like Max Klesmit or, Tonje or Steven Crowell, whoever it is, to beat guys off the dribble. You have to find a way to move that basketball fast, keep the ball moving, which is something we talk about all the time with this Wisconsin team. Keep that ball moving, keep it humming around, find an opening, go for it there. That's something that I'm looking for in this game for the Badgers. Keep that ball whipping around, make things happen with movement of the basketball, not as much driving, movement of the basketball. Then when you see that lane, then you attack that lane. So that's something I'm looking for in this one. Free up shooters is one of the things you're going to be doing. Freeing up the shooters, also freeing up that lane to be able to drive. Utilize the bigs. One of the biggest things I'm looking at is utilizing them bigs in this game here. You got, their biggest guy right now, their leading rebounder. They have some bigger guys, but their leading rebounder is Awaka. He came over from Tennessee last season there. He's their leading rebounder. On the season, 12 rebounds per game. Pretty good numbers there out of Awaka, 12 rebounds per game. But he's 6'8", right? You have Steven Crowell out there who's a 7-footer. You got 6'11", Nolan Winter. You got to find a way to utilize the bigs in this game here. Last season, Steven Crowell was atrocious when they went to Arizona. He was a non-factor. He cannot do that tonight. He cannot bail out on you. He has got to come up big time for the Badgers in the paint in this game here. You have to control the paint. You have to control the glass. Second chance points for Arizona cannot happen in this game, right? I know I'm saying a lot of things that cannot happen. They cannot happen. If you want to hang around with a team like Arizona who's got the athleticism and the ability to get into that lane, to shoot the basketball, you have to be able to control the little things, and that is rebounding 101. If you have Bo Ryan in the building, go have him go down the locker room and tell these Badgers how to, rebound, get to the free throw line, all those things. Because that's the way he ran Wisconsin, was rebounding and getting to the free throw line. So that's something Wisconsin has to shore up tonight, is the paint in this game. You got to win the free throw battle. You got to win the free throw battle in this one. Arizona has not actually been in very impressive free throw shooting team on the season so far. I was looking at their stats earlier on, and I was just pulling that back up there. I believe on the season, if I'm not mistaken, they're shooting 66% from the free throw line is Arizona. Not an impressive. They don't get to the line a lot, but when they get there, they're not capitalizing on it. Wisconsin, they're the exact opposite on the season so far. A lot of their wins, and I'm not going to say it's solely due to free throws, because that would, I don't think it's solely due to free throws, but they've shot a lot of free throws and they've been hitting them. They're shooting 92% from the free throw line is Wisconsin. You want to win this game, get to the free throw line. That has a lot to do with Steven Crowell, Nolan Winter down in that post area, getting into guys, getting to the rim, finding ways to draw fouls, get these guys in foul trouble, and then get to the line. Because right now, the Badgers shooting 92% at that free throw line. You love to see numbers like that. They got to find a way to get to the line in this one and win that free throw battle. That's something I'm looking at. Protecting the basketball. You got to. Turnovers will be a premium in this game from Arizona, I believe. You're not going to be able to turn them over like you did against Holy Cross or like you did against Montana State, right? Or App State, right? That was crazy how many times they turned the basketball over. Arizona is not going to turn the basketball over that much. You got to find a way to limit your own turnovers in this game and, shore up that end, because the pace of play is big, right? Wisconsin doesn't want, you do not want to get in a running match with Arizona. The last thing you want to do with an athletic team that can outrun you up and down the floor all day long is to get in a running match with them. You got to find a way to limit those turnovers, because turnovers will lead to buckets for Arizona, free points that Wisconsin won't have anything to do. I mean, you got to find a way to limit them turnovers here. And they have a deep team. Arizona has a very deep team, and they're willing to go deep on that bench in this game here. Wisconsin, we're going to find out about their bench. How deep will Greg Gard go? Will he go with, how long will he keep Amos on the floor? Gilmore, will he bring in guys, random guys in there like Freitag or, Cameron John or Hunter in this game here? What will Wisconsin do? We're going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see what Greg Gard will do in a big game, because so far we've played, I don't want to say lesser opponents, but smaller, lesser opponents. I'm just going to say it, lesser opponents to this point here. Now you're facing up against one of the better teams in the country. How does Greg Gard coach it? Is he willing to go deep on that bench? Is he willing to keep his starters off the floor for extended minutes? And what can that bench give you when they are on the floor? Those are some of the big things that I'm looking for in this one. I was just seeing if I had any other keys. The biggest key, the Badgers have sucked to start games to start this season so far. I mean, they went down big to Holy Cross. They had their problems with App State early on, Montana State. You got to find a way to start this game off a little bit better. You do. You can't go through the motions early in the game and expect to go in a 22-6 hole against Arizona and find a way back into this one. You might be able to. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but Arizona, once they get going, it's hard to slow them down. So you got to find a way in this one to start out hot. Not even hot. Just start out with some kind of consistency in this one where it's a close game early on, close game. Get yourself going towards the half with a close game. And then in the second half, anything can happen. We know that. Anything can happen in that second half there. So those are some of the big things that I'm looking for there. Don't play Arizona's game. Arizona wants to play fast. They want to get you into trouble by turning the basketball over. Avoid those silly mistakes in this one, and you will be just fine. I'm interested to see some of the players in this one, but Aaron, what are you seeing? Arizona, Wisconsin, how you feeling about this one for the Badgers tonight?
Well, yeah, I mean it's obviously tough, right? Like this is one of those, like, you look at on paper. I'm not gonna say you don't give Wisconsin a fair shake like you do, but it's obviously Arizona's got like that pedigree. I mean, just last season, what, they were a Sweet 16 team. So I mean, one thing, I did kind of do some searching here. I mean, the Wildcats have only shot 32% from three, and like the the sample size is so small. Like, we're talking a couple, 2, 3 games for, we're not far into the season. So we don't really know, how good is Arizona, how good is Wisconsin yet. Like they're getting their feet wet into this season. So that could be a good thing in a way for Arizona, or for Wisconsin rather. Just because it's like, you never know, a team could come out, a little bit flat early in the season, drop a game they don't, think they're going to lose, that type of thing. Like, there's some of that can play into this. Like you said, I mean, Wisconsin's shooting lights out. Well, fairly lights out from the free throw line, where Arizona is not. So, I mean, if that becomes a thing in the second half, that could be obviously a determining factor on the success of Arizona rather. And then from what I see, like Steven Crowell, like, yeah, he's passing the ball around good, 10 assists, but 8 turnovers, that's not, you don't want that. So you got to limit like you said, turnovers for Arizona, a fundamentally sound team, probably at a premium. You can't, if you're Wisconsin and you're trying to, force your way to win this game, you can't be having, unnecessary turnovers. Like, yeah, they're going to happen here and there, but you can't, continuously have it against a team of this caliber. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm Wisconsin, like you said, just play your game. Don't worry about trying to play their game. Like, I think a lot of teams make that mistake where it's like, okay, you're seeing Arizona. Okay, let's say they come out shooting lights out from three, even though they haven't the first couple of games. Play your game. Have solid possessions. Share the ball around. Like, don't force ill-advised shots and just to, like, okay, we have to play with these guys. We have to score every possession. Like, no, get your shot, live with the result. Like, as simple as that is. I mean, that's kind of how you have to play this, and take your chances too, though, right? Like, don't shy away from, or if somebody has a wide open three, don't pass it up for an even better quote unquote shot. But I mean, yeah, it's gonna be, that place will be rocking just because of obviously bringing those guys back, commemorating that team. So I mean, any given what is it? Any given Friday instead of any given Sunday here. So
Any given Friday, craziness can happen. It could set up a crazy weekend, right? You beat Arizona, the football team. Maybe they just beat them Ducks. Maybe they beat them Ducks. The
that would be
Packers completely tear into the Bears. I mean, we had last week, we were talking about a terrible weekend in Wisconsin sports. We could be talking about a fantastic weekend in Wisconsin. I mean, that just craziness could happen, right? Any given Saturday, well, who cares, right? The memo just changes a little bit. Last season, the Badgers sucked on the inside, too. I mean, I'm a plain out say they sucked on the inside. They shot, it was 29 for 70 on the game. Not bad. 41% from the field. That's not bad, right? But on the interior, we're talking just field 19 for 49, just on normal shots. Just on normal shots. They went 10 for 21 from downtown. That's not terrible. 47%. That's not terrible at all. But you take those numbers apart there, and you got 19 for 49 from the field without them threes. So a little bit ugly. So this one, I mean, we're talking about, the interior controlling that paint. When you get inside, you got to be able to finish. You got to be able to finish because Arizona is going to finish. That's the thing. Is Arizona is going to do those little things like a layup or those little shots. They're going to find ways to knock them down. The Badgers got to do it. They got to do it in this one. They've struggled early on this season on the interior, finishing at the rim. This is a game where, I mean, you can't really afford to mess up in those areas. So those are the easy shots. You got to find those ways. Some of the guys I'm watching is Xavier Amos. I don't know how much he's going to play. Greg Gard confuses me sometimes with his rotation. I know he's going to play, but how much? I don't know. He had a pretty good game last time out there. I'm interested to see Xavier Amos, not just, on the offensive end, because I know he can score it. I know he's got the athleticism and the ability to extend the floor. I'm looking at him, I'm saying, okay, how does he play defensively? Because I could see the Badgers maybe throwing him at a guy like Caleb Love there and just throwing him at him and saying, we'll put a bigger body on Caleb Love and try to shut him down at the perimeter because he's got the ability to defend. So maybe Greg Gard goes with something like that. So I'm interested to see Amos in those roles. Klesman and Tanjay on the guards in this one because I don't expect Amos to take Caleb Love for that long. On Bradley and Love in this one, how those two react, if it is Tanjay or if it is Klesman, who's on who. I'm interested to see those two there. And then Crowell and Winter in that paint area. Those are two guys that I mentioned earlier. We got to have a good day in the paint. Those are two guys that I'm watching for in this one, Crowell and Winter. Will they have big games tonight? Because if they go away, if Crowell and Winter cannot find a way to have a big game for you, the Badgers will struggle to win this game. They might struggle to win it already. They might struggle to win this game already, but you are setting yourself in a hole if Steven Crowell shows up like he did last season there. Last season, I believe, I have the stats up here. He finished with 11 points, but that was garbage points late in the game there. At one point, he was 1 for 1 shooting the basketball, and that was it. Like, that's where he was sitting on the game there. So Steven Crowell cannot go away from you in this game. He has to be big, and he has to be that dominant presence. This is a game, we're talking about a team who's, good around the rim. This is a game that's going to get you ready for Big Ten play because Big Ten play involves a lot of posts, a lot of big ball basketball, right? You got to be big when you play in the Big Ten there. And Arizona's a team that wants to play you big. I mean, they can shoot it, they can get around you, but they want to play bully ball. They want to use those big guys in different ways. That's something that I'm really keying in on in this game here. If Wisconsin wins, they lose this game. I'm not really hurt either way. I want to see them win this game. I'm excited for this game to see where this Badger team is at and where, they fit into a picture this season, but it's early season. I want to see the Badgers compete. I want to see a competitive game. And if it ends like it did against Tennessee last season in a 10-point game, 80-70, you walk away from that saying, okay, we had opportunities in this game. How can we progress, right? Those are the kinds of things that I want to come out of this game with. Arizona's a fantastic team. I think they're going to be around all season long. They're hovering in that probably top 15, right? So I think this is a good team in Arizona. I don't think this is a bad team in Wisconsin. I think this is going to be a growing game for Wisconsin to see what they can do the rest of the way and how much Steven Crowell has progressed since last season. Can he play big ball against some of these better centers and better players in the league? We're going to find out tonight here when the Badgers take on Arizona. That should be a fantastic game. 8 o'clock tip there on Peacock, which sucks. I'm not going to lie. That sucks there that it's on Peacock, but we'll get over it. Arizona opens as a 4.5-point favorite. That's not bad. That's not bad. I can expect that, right? They're giving the Badgers about a 37% chance to win this one, 4.5 point underdogs in this one. I can live with that. I can live with that. If it's that close, I like that. I like that. The atmosphere, like you said, is primed. It's ready to rock and roll. They got the former Badgers in the house there. They know how to beat Arizona. Ask some of them guys. Maybe just ask them to play. Maybe they'll play. I don't know. Maybe they can play. Maybe Bo will jump back on the sideline and coach. I don't know. We'll see how it goes there. We got a couple comments here. Brantley Gilbert's back tonight here. He says, besides defense, the offense for the Badgers have to get the points right off the tip and do the whole game to win because Arizona's good. I agree. The Badgers have to find a way to put runs together. They have to find a way to stay consistent. And that's the big thing that I mentioned right off the bat. There was consistency from this team. They have to stay consistent. They have to keep rolling throughout this game. So some of those things are what we're looking at too there, Brantley. And then Dustin, he says, we tip off at 5 against Kelvin. So I'll be back in time to watch the Badgers tonight. Looking forward to a game, as these big non-conference games are great for the sport. I agree. I mean, you get some good non-conference matchups, which we're going to talk about here in a second, because this is only one of the good games coming up tonight here in college basketball. There is a couple top 15 matchups. There's a couple of top 25 matchups. Like, this could be a fantastic night all the way around there in college basketball. So let's look at some of those games here and let's check them out. Let's check them out. Let's see what's going on in the landscape of college basketball. So we see Purdue and Alabama. There you go. So there is a game before the Badgers Arizona tip on Peacock. It will be Purdue and Alabama will also be on Peacock tonight here. Can you believe that? A top 15 matchup and you can't even put the darn thing on ESPN? Like, are you serious? Right? That game cannot make ESPN. Like, are you kidding? It's on Peacock. Are you kidding me right now? Like, you're expecting the entire nation who wants to watch this game, like, hey, we're gonna go sign up for Peacock real quick. Most guys are gonna watch it on Gamecast on the ESPN app. Like, that's where they're gonna be at that one. But Aaron, who do we got? Alabama, Purdue. This one's coming to us from Mackey Arena. It is hard to win at Mackey. I can tell you that much. Badgers have always struggled there. It didn't matter if it was that 2014, 2015 Badger team that went to the Final Four national championship. It is hard to win at Mackey. What do you like? Who do you see in this one pulling out winning this one? Alabama right now favored by 2.5.
I'll go Crimson Tide here. I think 2.5 close spread. Like you said, hard to win at Mackey. That's, I mean, anything can happen, right? But I trust in Alabama to pull it off. I just feel like it'll be close, probably all game. Like, I don't see this being at any point like a landslide, but give me Alabama. They're, number 2 in the nation for a reason. So
I hate Purdue. I hate Purdue. Not in football.
Football and
I draw lines.
Oh, just basketball.
Just basketball.
Okay.
Purdue
right.
Football sucks. I cannot hate them. Like, you cannot hate a
They
program.
flirt. They flirt around every once in a while, and then
yes.
they fall apart like.
I can't hate a program that stinks in a sport. So, like, football, they don't bother me. They're fine. Basketball, hate them. Didn't like Zach Edey. I didn't like Mason Gillis. I don't like Braden Smith. I just don't like them. All right.
That's how I feel about Gonzaga. Like, I don't like Gonzaga at all.
Gonzaga doesn't do me dirty, but they did play in one of the most boring national championships of all time. So I will give them that one. I have never fallen asleep during a national championship. I fell asleep during that one. I like Alabama. Give me Marcus Sears and them Alabama Crimson Tide to win it and Mackey Arena and just bam, shoot off them Purdue's. Let's see here. Dustin says it's Friday night. The NBA has a contract for Friday night games along with God. I don't care. I don't care that they do. Okay. You can give me the 2 best teams in the NBA right now. I would rather watch Purdue and Alabama. Like, this is a top 15 matchup. This is what I want to watch. All right. This is what I want to watch. I don't want to watch the NBA mid-season. Like, that just stinks.
It's like the NFL, right? Like, I'm not saying that, you got Packers, Bears, you had Eagles, Commanders last night. Like, even Eagles, Commanders, like that's a big game. It's division, it's battling for the first seed in the division. But when you have a top like 15 matchup, or even like let's say a top 10 matchup in college football, like, it's a different, because there's so much more on the line. Like, you lose a regular season game in the NFL, it's like, okay, ho hum. Like, you lose one in college, you drop 5, 6, 7 places sometimes, and it's like it shakes up your whole outlook on your season. And even with the expanded playoff, like, it's different now. So yeah, I'm totally in agreement with that. Like, sure, the NBA is the Goliath compared to college, basketball, and like the NFL is like the ultimate Goliath compared to anything. But it's I'd like to see, you put on a college atmosphere game, it's different. I don't care if it's football or basketball. It's just like I wish they kind of got the notoriety that sometimes I feel like they don't get. But yeah, after watching that Peacock broadcast of Penn State game, I mean Colt McCoy is. I thought Chris Collinsworth was bad. He takes it to an insanely bad level. Like he's awful.
If Colt McCoy never got hurt, Texas might have won that national
I
championship
see, and
this
I
year.
liked him as a player. I liked him. It's almost opposite. I couldn't stand Brady as a player. I don't mind him in the booth. I liked Colt McCoy as a player. Oh my goodness, if you hopefully you don't have to sit through one of his I mean, he was mentioning guys on Penn State and getting their names like he's like this number 11 is and then not even saying the right guy's name. I'm like, dude, this might not be for you. I mean, I know he's new to it, but like, wow.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, Dustin's he's irritated with the NCAA because they got rid of the ACC Big Ten Challenge and made it the SEC ACC Challenge, like WTF. Yeah, I agree. We got the Big East now. We play the Big East all the time. The last game of the night there, we see Ohio State taking on Texas A&M. That's the number 21 team in the nation taking on number 23. Ohio State's got a revamped roster this year. They're looking pretty good. They came off a win against Texas early on there. Texas might have been overranked, but that's okay, right? They always overrank a team or two. Bruce Thornton's looked good. Parrish has looked good for him so far for Ohio State. Aaron, what are we seeing in that one? Right now, Texas A&M is favored by 5.5.
I can never pick Ohio State, right? I mean, even when I feel like I should in football or whatever. Yeah, give me Texas A&M, right? Like I just simply for the fact that I want them to win. So both the teams that I'd rather see Alabama win than Purdue, and then I'd rather see Texas A&M. So give me just both teams that I'd rather see win. That's the only reason I'm going with either one of them.
I like that. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take Texas A&M's at home. Give me Texas A&M at home. I like Texas A&M at home in that one. I think Ohio State's got a fantastic team. Like they're gonna be right there in the thick of things all season long. But I like Texas A&M to pull this one off. I like Maryland against Marquette too. Marquette coming in 16th team in the nation right now. 7:00 tip there on FS1. I like Maryland. I'm going to take Maryland over Marquette. I know I'm supposed to cheer for Marquette. Wisconsin, that's just how it's supposed to be. I'm not a big Marquette fan. Actually, I dislike Marquette with passion. So I'm going to take Maryland to win that game against Marquette.
That's funny. It's like I should, but I don't.
They tell me I'm supposed to, but I don't want to.
See, I didn't even like. Obviously, they're relevant in basketball, but like football, I don't. That team like doesn't exist to me. You know what I mean? Like, come the March Madness, obviously, or like they're usually in the tournament. It's just like outside of that, it's like they just I forget they're a thing altogether. But yeah, I mean Maryland unranked, kind of. I mean a little bit different. That some years they're up there in the rankings, some years they're not. Yeah, I mean, give me Maryland. Why not? Right, pull a little upset early at home. Both undefeated.
It's at home.
Yeah, I mean,
Gotta
they're both.
like that.
It's so early, right? Like, I was looking at Penn State basketball a little bit. I mean, they're playing better than Villanova. So I mean, all hell might be freezing over. I mean, really, it's just Villanova is not like they're 2-2. Like I can't remember the last time Villanova had
Jay
two.
Wright left and they stink. That's
Yeah,
just all that you got to know. Jay Wright leaves and the whole program just hits the crapper real fast.
They just folded up doors and they're just like,
pretty much. That's kind of where we're at.
That's kind of a shame, but
I know it sucks. When Villanova was good, it made something of college basketball. The Badgers beat them in the tournament one time when they were the number 1 seed, and all of a sudden they fall apart. That's just all I know. Badgers put them away. They put them away. That's all you gotta know. It could have been it. It could have been it. So we got the Bucks in action this weekend. They're taking on the Hornets. Hopefully the Bucks can keep this win streak alive here, get to a 3-game win streak. They won't suck for 3 games straight. Like, that's okay. Like, pull this win off against the Hornets. We're fine there. But let's look at, I didn't know how to title it in my title that I made tonight here, but can the Badgers actually hunt these ducks, right? Is it possible to go duck hunting right now in this current landscape that we're seeing right now with Oregon playing very well? Wisconsin, they're stinking. Dustin, I do see your comment about the new NBA All-Star format. I just saw a notification come across there. I haven't had time to read up on it yet. I don't want to go into it blind there. So yes, we did see something about that. It came across on ESPN that they were talking about the new format. I haven't had time to read up on it yet. There, we'll probably get into that on Sunday here on the show. Maybe we'll have Kyle in here because Kyle's a big NBA guy. Maybe we'll have Kyle in here to talk about it with us, explain it to us, because we're not all there with the NBA like he is. So, we'll get into it on a different day. But Aaron, we got Oregon. They're coming to town. This isn't a great time because the Badgers are coming off a loss against Iowa where it just looked like, I don't even know, like Wisconsin went back to absolutely sucking, and Iowa just became this powerhouse. That's basically what it looked like, is we weren't even on the same level as Iowa. And that's coming off of, you look at the trip of games that Wisconsin has had as of late here. I mean, you stood toe to toe with Penn State. You stood toe to toe with Penn State. And then all of a sudden, you have a bye week, you go play Iowa, and you just get completely dismantled. Or did they have the bye week then, or was that right after? That might have been right after. I don't even know if they had the bye week in between there. When was?
Oh, they did. Yeah, they did. I think so, because we didn't
Did
talk.
they have the bye?
I feel
No,
like
no, no. They had a bye this last time around, didn't we?
you know more, you know better than I do, but
Let's see here. Let's see. Now I'm November 2nd they played Iowa. November 2nd they played Iowa.
yeah, so
Penn State.
they just had a bye week.
Yeah, Penn State, they played on October 26th there. So we're just confusing ourselves at this point here. But coming off, a game against Penn State where you looked good for a portion, where you were standing toe-to-toe with one of the top teams in the country, and then a week later you get completely dismantled by Iowa with a pretty straightforward offense. Like, your defense looked okay against Penn State, who, I mean, that's a complex offense. They're throwing the linemen out there and the wide receivers, it's all kinds of confusion. And then you go take on Iowa, and they're like, we're just going to run it straight ahead, and we're going to play this game better than you can play this game. And they proved it. I mean, they proved it to us playing it simple in that one. So now you have Oregon. They're coming to town. It's a night game again. Of course it is. It's national TV once again, because that's the way we love it. We love national TV. That's just, apparently we love night games now for Wisconsin. Aaron, is it possible? Is there a possibility that Wisconsin can hang around?
Man, I'm sorry, I can't see it, only because like Penn State has a good offense, not at a. I mean, you could say even sometimes when both running backs are going, I would say it's a great offense. It's not an elite offense, hardly ever. I would say now Oregon is like the most elite offense you'll see. Yeah, like this is cream of the crop when it comes to offensive football and college football. I know Wisconsin's numbers against, like the pass defense didn't look bad. I think this, like, Oregon team's on a different level than anybody they've played. That's the problem. So those stats might, I mean, I'm not gonna say numbers don't lie, but it's like when you go up against Oregon, it's just different. Um, I mean, obviously, Penn State was in the game against Ohio State, and then Ohio State was in the game against Oregon. So if you kind of base
Transitive property.
yeah, I don't know if you can, like, I don't necessarily agree with that line of thinking, because it's this guy versus this guy. Like, maybe a guy on Oregon just is flat out better than the guy on Wisconsin, or vice versa. Like that type of thing happens. I feel like Oregon's gonna probably throw up a bunch of points, and the problem with Wisconsin is like the quarterback position, right? You don't trust him to make good decisions. He's probably gonna force. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't care if he went out. I mean, for your sake, I don't want him to throw 4 picks or anything, but it's like I wouldn't blame him, because it's like if you're in if you're in a gunslinging battle and Oregon's got 35 points on the board, I'm taking chances. Like I don't care at that point. Probably throw in a double coverage once, every couple passes. Like you're gonna have to just make stuff out of nothing. If Oregon's able to do that, which I just feel like they will. Unfortunately, I mean, we've seen crazier things. We've seen, number one teams in the nation go in and lose, randomly. It's hard for me to see a path other than if Wisconsin can keep Oregon on the side, like if they can get the running game going, that would be huge. It's going to be Oregon's defense isn't bad, but it's not great either. So that is at least a path as far as, getting some offensive flow for Wisconsin. But the quarterback scares me. That if they had I don't know, if they had even like a Will Howard who's at Ohio State, like, yeah, people say he's really good. Like, he's not that good, like he's decent, but he's not elite. If they had that level, I would say they have a chance. Braden Locke scares. I just don't have no trust in the guy right now. I mean, you hope coming off this bye week they're fresher, and you hope they don't kind of show some rust or some inconsistencies too. That's another thing I worry about is like, okay, they're coming in this game, off of a break. How locked in are you going to be? And you're 5-4. You don't have a ton to play for, but this is the number one team. So if you're in it at halftime, that's kind of like that's what you can hope for. Unfortunately for your sake, Trajan, this is like number one team in the nation. Like it is. If Penn State was playing Oregon, I wouldn't feel very good at all. So it's like, it's tough. It's tough.
On the bright side, after watching that game against Iowa, I don't think there could be rust on the wagon that isn't already there. Like this bye week could not have made that worse. Like it was about as bad as they could get against Iowa there. So, I mean, they scored 7 points in garbage time. Like that final score should have been worse than what it was. It was 7 points in garbage time. They ended up with 10, right? So, I mean, yeah, you hit it on the head. I mean, you gotta find ways to keep Oregon on the sideline, keep that offense on the sideline there. And in this game, I'm opening up the playbook. I don't know why. You had that game against Penn State and you just played conservative. You had the lead, but you played like I don't know. Like it's conservative offense hurts. It's so vanilla. It's so simple. Like in this game here, put it all out there. There's 40 recruits coming to Madison. 40 recruits coming into Madison for this game here. You have one of the better quarterback prospects in Carter Smith coming to town to watch this one. You want to show him, like, hey, maybe we have talent. I believe we have talent on the wide receiver room. I don't, a lot of people say that we suck. I believe there's talent in there. I just don't think we have a quarterback throw it to him. You have most of those guys coming back. You show Carter Smith, hey, this is our playbook. It's wide open. There's a lot of different things that you can do. You can progress in this system. You can find a way to run it better than what, Braden Locke's playing with it right now. Those little things, because right now I feel like, as Dustin, he says, how can you open up the playbook? That doesn't exist. The Badgers literally have 5 plays and they don't do any of them well. I agree. I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%. He says Carter Smith's coming to watch Oregon. I agree. The playbook is actually, I don't even think Oregon's on his radar. I think actually Florida State might swoop in and take Carter Smith from what I saw. But the problem isn't, that's what it is. They got 5 plays. They're running 5 plays. They ran vanilla against Penn State. They got blown out. They ended as a blowout there, but they were up. I mean, they were up at one point in that game. This is a game where you just come in and you say, screw it. You just say, screw it. What are you going to, like Phil Longo, what are you going to hurt of Braden Locke's reputation if you just start gunslinging? Just say, Braden Locke can make throws. We've seen him make throws. Look at that game against Penn State. Hit that deep one on the seam there to CJ Williams there for a big gainer. Didn't come away with the touchdown on that drive, but he made the throw, right? They had a throw against USC that he hit Vinny Anthony for a touchdown early in that one. I know Braden Locke can throw the football. His decision-making sucks. Like, it sucks. But this guy, I heard the greatest thing that I heard explaining Braden Locke was when the first read isn't there, he goes into panic mode. He doesn't know what to do. He can't go off schedule. If everything is on schedule, right? If Will Pauling goes out and he runs this little in route and he's open right on that in route, he can hit that route every single time. Every single time. But if Will Pauling hits that in route and he runs it, maybe 10 yards instead of 7 yards and he doesn't break it off right, he's screwed. Braden Locke doesn't know what to do. He cannot play off schedule. That is the bait. You look at Dylan Gabriel and you look at Aller there with Penn State, or you look at Will Howard with Ohio State. They can go through a transition of reads and be able to, find an opening. Braden Locke cannot find that opening. That is the biggest thing that he needs to progress in his game if he's going to find any success at this level. This guy, I know he can gunsling. I know he can throw the football. We saw it. We saw it against Penn State. We saw it at moments against, Rutgers or whoever you want to say. Now, lesser opponents. I agree. Lesser opponents. But he's making throws. I know he can make the throws. The question is, if he gets off script here against Oregon, can he make those throws? Because you cannot just diagram what's going to happen, right? You can't just say this cornerback's going to do this every single time, so just look for this. You can maybe the first 3 times, right? But then all of a sudden Dan Lanning's standing on the sideline there and he's watching and he's like, hey, you have this tendency to you. Maybe try doing this next time. And then all of a sudden they change it up and, well, boom, That route ain't there anymore. So I believe that Braden Locke can make throws. Question is, how many can he make in a big game against Oregon? That's the biggest thing. I don't trust Oregon's defense. I don't trust Oregon's defense to do much. They have some good pass rushers. They got ability on that defense, but I'm not sitting here telling you Oregon's got one of the best defenses in the country. Like, I'm not here telling you that. I mean, Maryland found ways to move the football on them last week. Maryland's a pretty good team, but they found ways to move football against them there. I'm not saying Oregon's a pushover team by any means at this point. But what I'm saying is Wisconsin can move the football against them. And what you were saying earlier is you got to keep them on the sideline. You got to find a way to sustain drives. So that's why I'm like, open up the playbook. Just say screw it. Just say screw it. Show these recruits, show Carter Smith. Like, that's my biggest worry is recruits watch this and they say, what are they doing? Like, why would I want to come to Wisconsin if the offensive coordinator is so vanilla and, he's got one page of a play sheet and that's it, and it doesn't go further than that? Why would I want to join that system? What's going to change if I join that system? That's my biggest worry. In a game like this, just say screw it. Open it up. What's it going to hurt? Honestly, what's it going to hurt? You're not expected to win this game. You're actually the line did come down a little bit. It was 14. Now it's 13.5. I think they're favoring in that's at Camp Randall. It's at night. I think they're favoring in some of those kinds of, variables into there, but you have nothing to lose. Play like you have nothing to lose. Coach the game like you have nothing to lose. Come in. If you're Luke Fickell, I don't know what you have to do to spark some kind of fire into this team, but you need to find that fire that you came out with against Penn State, because when Drew Aller was in there and that game started, you had a 4th down stand against Penn State. That is a team that overpowers you in most categories, and you had a 4th down stand. That is something that in this game against Oregon, you find a way. Maybe it is. Maybe they hang around for a little bit in this one. I'm not saying Wisconsin wins this game by any means. I think it's going to probably cover that spread there. Actually, Oregon has sucked to cover the spread this year. So that's probably why the line is so low right now, is in all their games, they haven't really covered the spread to this point here. Maybe that's why it's at 13.5 at this point, because they're like, they haven't covered the spread yet. So we don't want to take them by that much there. But I mean, Aaron, is there a point in this game where, I'm hoping it's not an absolute blowout in the first half. I want to keep the recruits interested in Wisconsin football for a little bit longer in the first half. But is there a point where, say in the third quarter, end of the third quarter, it's 35 to, 10, right? It's 35 to 10. But the Oregon's just going away with it. Is there a point where you just say, okay, Braden Locke, come off the field. Mabry, go out there. Tyree Walker, step off the field, running back there. You put in guys like Dillion Jones, and you just say, run with it. Put the young guys in there, and you just say, run with it. Because I want to see what I have next year. I want to see what I have in a quarterback room already. I want to see what I have for running backs going into next year, because that's going to help, if you transfer portal, right? You don't want to go out and grab 14 running backs if you feel like you already have 3 in the room, right? So, is there a point in this game where if you're Wisconsin, you're maybe toying with some of those things to see what you got moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been a proponent of like that type of thinking, especially like we're looking at this Wisconsin team that I didn't have. I've gained to know. I've learned more about this team, I should say. That was a word salad, but I've learned more about this team, since we've been doing this thing. But I'm not gonna write Luke Fickell off for good, but like coming from Cincinnati, bringing they were in the final, quote unquote, Final Four, like the college football playoff there with Fickell in Cincinnati. So I expected more. He's still early in the process, but at this point you're 5-4. Like that's my like I would be saying the same thing with Penn State if they were 5-4. Like shake it up. You know what I mean? Like even if Braden Locke like if it's a 17-point game in the second quarter, pull him out. Like if he walks away from the university, so like that's how I'd be like, so be it, man. Like this season hasn't gone well. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but there's times where he's completely put them in, like that pick 6 against Penn State was a crucial mistake. Like you can't be making those. So it's like there's going to be guys that make those mistakes. I'm not saying that even the best quarterbacks are going to make mistakes, but like if it feels like it's becoming out of reach early, even put these guys in, see what you have. You never know what you might find out there. In past years, Penn State will be up a lot in games, and they'll put in like I'll see Bo, but they'll like make him hand the ball off like every single time. Like, no, I hate seeing that. Like if you're gonna bring these guys, yeah, like sure, use the backup running back, use the backup tight end, whoever you want to use there, but like let the guy behind the starting quarterback, your guy that's riding the bench, the guy with the headset on every Saturday, like let him throw the ball a little bit and gain some confidence. Because like, what if Brain Lock goes down? You know what I mean? You're not preparing the next guy the right way. If they're in a game throwing the ball, it's a lot different than practice every single week or scrimmage or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm all for bringing in, if this game gets out of reach and Oregon's just kind of overpowering them offensively, yeah, make a change. Like I said, why not? I'm not saying Brain Lock is like a lost cause, but it's like, you're 5-4. You know what I mean? It's just like there is nothing to, in my opinion, there's nothing to lose. You're kind of already, shifting gears to next year because like you don't have college football playoff hopes. You might qualify for a bowl, but it's unfortunately that's just where you're at right here, right now. And then, go into next season with a more of an open mind. If you just let's just say they play Brain Lock, the entire rest of this game. They're out of it in the third quarter. It's just like, what is that doing? Like if he's not playing well, he's only going to get worse mentally. The team's getting beat like that. That doesn't do you any good either. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree 100%. And Dustin, he says, this team has no fire. The only fire that should be associated with this team is fire the staff. Um, you're not firing them right now, but I would say next season, I know everybody, and I hate listening to it, is, oh, well, he had such a mess to clean up with Paul Chryst and, this and that. We're blaming Paul Chryst yet for the Wisconsin failure at this point here. You have your guys at this point. Next season, you're going to have your guys. Those are your guys. If you still look like this, if you look like you have no identity and there's a question about all this crap that we're seeing in Wisconsin right now next season, that seat's got to be hotter than shit. You won't be able to sit down. It's so hot. Like that is where I'm at with Luke Fickell and this coaching staff at this point. I don't want to give up on Luke Fickell. I've given up on Phil Longo. I will agree with that. I've given up on Phil Longo because I don't think he's a great offensive play caller. And Tressel on that defense, I think he stinks. You ran a nickel defense against Iowa who wanted to run the football. Don't understand that one. You could add another down lineman. You could add another linebacker out there at that point. Putting another safety or corner in there was not helping your cause. So I'm not in agreement with Tressel at this point. You're not firing Fickell at this point, but next season, that seat has got to be hot. That seat has got to be hot to show us something with this Badger team. And then Dustin also said, if you're going to pick a game for recruits to come to, you don't pick a game where you're going to get the crap kicked out of you. Pick a game that you feel or that you can win like they used to do. I'm going to say yes, but I'm also going to say no because I've heard from a lot of recruits, or not personally, but over what they said after that Penn State game, they were in it in that third quarter going into the fourth quarter, and the atmosphere, a sold out crowd, and the atmosphere jump around came on. It was just electric, they said. Like that was an atmosphere that you want to be a part of. And it's a night game, right? Night games are better for recruiting because you get the full, you get the full view. You get, the stadium under the lights. You get more fans in there, more students, more everything. So I would say I understand what you're saying with that. Yes, Oregon, if they can hang in this game, right? If it's the third quarter and it's 24-10 or something like that, or hopefully, right, 24-17 or something crazy is happening in the game. Like, you're going to tell me that's not what, name a better place you'd want recruits than in a tight game with a highly ranked opponent going into the fourth quarter. That's what they loved about that Penn State game. I would have said on paper, looking at that Penn State game, I know I went into that one telling you that Wisconsin was going to pull off the upset. There's a lot of people who thought that, but I mean, going into that game, if you were a logical man, you were sitting there saying, Penn State's going to mop Wisconsin. Like, this isn't a great Wisconsin team. They don't have a great quarterback. They have nothing great going for them right now. It's going to be a mopping, right? And I'm not going to sit here and say that, Oregon is I think they're better than Penn State. Don't get me wrong. I think they're better than Penn State, but I'm not going to sit here and say that, if I was going to pick a team right now to not beat the crap out of Wisconsin, I would take Penn State over Oregon. I think both teams at this point would kick the crap out of Wisconsin. Wisconsin just played a good game and they came out with fire against Penn State and kind of knocked them in the mouth right off the bat there, which kept them in that one.
Did.
Yeah, which kept that in there. I mean, if you find a way to somehow, I don't know if you can rattle Dillon Gabriel. I don't know if it's possible, but if you can find a way to rattle Dillon Gabriel, limit possessions for this Oregon Ducks team, you could go into halftime in a reasonable atmosphere or a reasonable score. I'm not saying that you're going to be winning, but you could go into the locker room with a reasonable score. Maybe like, I don't know, 24 to, I don't know, 10. Like something, not great, right? You don't want to give up 24 points in the first half and expect to stay in this one, but a reasonable score. So he also says, big difference between Penn State and Oregon is simple. Penn State and Wisconsin play the same style of football, old school physical ball. Oregon is a speed team, which Wisconsin has never had. Yes, I would agree with that there, but I'm not going to tell you that Wisconsin is a physical football team because after watching that Iowa game, they do not look like a physical football team either. So you tell me what Wisconsin is. I mean, yes, but also the physicality part can go in the favor of a team against a speed team. I mean, look at Miami versus Wisconsin. I believe it was in the Orange Bowl when they played them in that one. Miami was light years faster than Wisconsin. They could run circles around everybody on Wisconsin's team. They just ran the ball. They played the game to its purest form better than what Miami did, and they won that game. Miami was outright the more athletic team than Wisconsin. They had, every position you wanted to look at. Wisconsin played more physical in the trenches. They found ways to do things with, yes, Wisconsin doesn't have same kind of defenses that they had at that point, but they found ways to get the quarterbacks and they did their thing. So, yes, I agree, right? Oregon's a speed team. They can run circles around Wisconsin. I look at Alabama. Alabama's a speed team. They're not a power team. They're a speed team. They're going to beat you on it. Wisconsin was standing with them for a little while, right? It wasn't a great game, but they played with them. USC's a speed team. They played with USC for a while there, right? Sometimes college football, the stupidest things happen. The stupidest things. And that whole narrative of speed teams versus physical teams doesn't work out very well, goes away. It's just gone. Because it just crazy crap happens. Sometimes that speed comes back to bite, right? You try to burn them deep. Maybe they try to go after Hallman in this game, one of the least targeted cornerbacks in the country there for the Badgers. Maybe they try going after him and he comes away with 2 picks, right? There's all those crazy things that can happen in a game there that sometimes speed teams can get themselves in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're gonna have to not let Gabriel run all over you too. Like that's another thing where
there's too many things to keep in check for a defense that doesn't have a lot of playmakers.
It's almost like the Lamar Jackson thing, right? Like
yep.
You contain him in the pocket, he's not throwing the ball all over the place, then he starts running on you. It's just like it's so hard to win in all facets against a guy like that. That style of player. That's where I'm looking at Wisconsin, where the pass rush hasn't been excellent this year. So it's like you would hope somehow, some way they can just find something, even if it's this game, get the pass rush going. Because, like you said, if he's rattled, any quarterback can be rattled. We've seen Tom Brady rattled. It's just, can you get pressure on him? And then if, let's say, somehow Wisconsin does bring pressure somehow, some way, you got to have a spy on a guy like that. He'll take off on you and get 40 yards like at a clip. I've seen, I saw him do it against Ohio State a couple times. So it's tough. Like, I definitely hear your argument. I was I was scared about this Big Ten, how the expanded Big Ten goes. Cause I'm like, Penn State doesn't play good against speed teams either. Like I felt the same way. I was like, oh man, like Oregon coming in. That Washington team last year with Penix, like teams that play like that scare me. But yeah, you guys, you hung in against USC, which USC doesn't have a good defense, but offensively, like especially earlier in the year, they were guns blazing. Penn State found a way to beat USC, and I was terrified of that too. So yeah, that whole I was worried about that because these are packed teams that are now migrating into the Big Ten. I don't think a lot of them are going to change drastically how they play in the next couple of years. I'd be surprised if you saw Oregon start playing like Wisconsin, start playing like Michigan, start playing like even Penn State does with ton of tight end play, ton of just, run it down your throat. Like that's not who Oregon is. And that's not their philosophy, but you never know. Like with that being said, some of these matchups, if Wisconsin can just not turn the ball over a ton, I will tell you that right now, like that game you went to, Wisconsin, Penn State, I was like, wow, like I thought Penn State would handle them easier in the first half than they did. And I know Penn State's a second half team, but like you said perfectly, they came out, just piss in their veins. I mean, Wisconsin, you could tell was like, this is our like just coming out of the tunnel. I was like, okay, you can see something there. So you need that even at 5-4. I mean, you gotta come out like that. You gotta just
Yep.
say, you know what, number one team in the nation. No one talks. No one even cares to put respect on our name. Let's see what we can do. And like that would be. I mean, I'm all here for upsets anyway, so I'll pull definitely for Wisconsin. And whenever the number one team goes down, it's kind of fun too. So I mean, you would definitely see the goalpost getting ripped out of out
Which
there.
would suck because I thought I was going to be able to carry that goalpost out against Penn State, and I wasn't able to do it. Now I'm not going down there. I mean, it's a sold out crowd, so we'll see. It's going to be a good atmosphere for this one. Dustin, he says, don't blitz, Dylan Gabriel. I would not count what Wisconsin does as blitzing. Like, we don't put pressure on quarterbacks. I don't care if we send the house. Like, we don't put pressure on quarterbacks. So I don't think you can count what we do as blitzing. You might like look at the numbers that we send and say it's blitzing a quarterback, but it's not. Trust me. We do not blitz quarterbacks by any means there. Gabriel does have a 76% completion percentage against the blitz, 15 touchdowns and 1 interception, according to Dustin there. Yeah, those are pretty good numbers. Those are
So
pretty good numbers.
you just hope to play like zone to where he doesn't have many pockets.
You
Like
have to. You
yeah.
cannot. I mean, Hallman might be able to he might be able to go man to man with some of these guys, but outside of him, you're going to go one man to man and the rest are going to be zone. So, I mean, essentially, you're just playing a zone. You can play a nickel defense in this one, Tressel. Like, this one's okay. Iowa, not so much. This one, you can roll a nickel. You could do something great. I mean, heck, we can do 3 down linemen for all I care. Like, we're not putting pressure on a quarterback anyways. So, we might as well just throw the safeties out there and just say, screw it. Here, throw it at us. So, we'll see how this one goes. I mean, we'll see how this one goes. Maybe it's duck hunting season. I don't know. Maybe we bought a license. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that one there. But let's see what we got. What do we got for other matchups coming up this weekend here in college football? There's got to be a couple other good ones. I know Tennessee is taking on, let's see here. Tennessee is taking on Georgia, I believe, aren't they? Yes. Tennessee, Georgia. I mean, we got the number 7 team in the nation taking on the number 12 team in the nation. And if Georgia loses this game, they're most likely out of the college football playoff picture moving forward here, barring that, everything implodes and a bunch of other teams lose 3 games. So, Aaron, what are we seeing? Georgia's favored by 9.5 at home in this one. I got to say, I'm going to agree that Georgia will win this football game just because their backs are against the wall and they're going to find a way to win this one at home here. So, what are you thinking? Tennessee, Georgia.
Yeah, I think this might be a case of like, Kirby Smart. I don't know if you ever heard some of his speeches. They are off the wall. Like he's a very fiery guy to say the least. I think he probably chewed them for an hour straight after that Ole Miss game because they looked horrible. I mean, that
Yeah.
was
Oh, yeah.
one of the worst like games I've ever seen Georgia play in the last couple of years. Like ever since this dominant era they've been in, that they couldn't have looked worse really, especially in the second half. So at home, I mean, you look to get right. I just don't trust Tennessee to make enough plays. I don't know if you'll see, Georgia look outstanding. They have at times, like it's not like they can't. It's just like I don't know. I just Carson Beck to me is I mean, everybody thought who was that last quarterback? He's on the Rams now.
Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, Stenson Benton. Like people were like, oh, he's 27 and he's not that good. But like in college, I was like, I don't know why he got the hate. Anything they asked him to do, like, yeah, he's playing with a track team of receivers and a great offense. Like he had everything at his disposal, but he was good. Like he made plays. This guy
Yep.
is like, I mean, it's like painful. Like it's crazy a guy like this ends up at Georgia because it's like Georgia. They have everything else. They've all the tools in the tool shed, but he's just I couldn't be less impressed. I mean, he's 17 touchdowns, 12 picks. What's his completion percentage? 65. I mean, that's not bad, but the eye test just doesn't tell you that. But yeah, I mean, I think Georgia, they have to win this game, and I think they will. And at home is big in the dome. So yeah, I look for Georgia to get this one.
I like that. Yeah, Carson, if they're going to go as far as Carson Beck will take them, that's about it at this point. If he starts playing better, they might see a little bit more success there. But yeah, their backs are against the wall. They're 7-2. Can't afford another loss here. Tennessee will be a big boost to that resume too. So we'll see what happens there in Athens, Georgia for that one. Outside of that, I was looking at other top matchups. Missouri taking on South Carolina, number 23 versus number 21 in the nation. South Carolina's favored by 14 and a half against Missouri. That's wild. That is
Yeah.
wild. It's in Columbia for that one, so a little bit of home cooking there. If I'm going to, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to take Missouri to, like, I don't think that South Carolina is going to cover this spread. I really don't think South Carolina is going to cover this spread. I would say South Carolina wins, but I think it's only by a touchdown, if that, maybe 10, but I don't think they're covering a 14.5 point spread.
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, I really could. They South Carolina is kind of deceiving a little bit because they should have, like, I mean, shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? But like they should have I mean, watching, down the stretch of like the LSU game, they should have won that. They should have beat Alabama for sure. That was just I don't even quite know what happened there. But that's another team, like, when Steve Spurrier was there with South Carolina, like they always flirt with like, oh, this team's really good. Like they're right in it with some good teams, but they just seem to never get it done. But coming off that Texas A&M victory a couple weeks ago, like that's a great win. I think overall, top to bottom, they're better than Missouri. Missouri's kind of been like that, kind of just random, like Vanderbilt, like storyline type deal, like just a good story. And like they're not a bad team. I think South Carolina is like, like I said, roster, like just on paper, lining both those teams up there, they're significantly better. But I mean, I could see it being that close of a game because a lot of South Carolina games have been close this year, no matter kind of who they've played. So, yeah, I could once again see that as far as like, even starting the season, they barely beat Old Dominion. They did rout Vanderbilt last game, but and routed Oklahoma. But yeah, I mean they got killed by Ole Miss. So yeah, there's some leeway there, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So that should be a good one there. Penn State, Purdue, I don't think we have to talk about that much for you.
I hope not. I mean, you never know, right? You never know.
Never know. Penn State's opening as a 28.5 point favorite in that one. It's in West Lafayette, so maybe, just maybe they tear down their own goalpost. I don't know. We'll see how that one works there. Clemson and Pitt. That'll be the last one we got there. That's the last big matchup, I guess. Number 20 Clemson, unranked Pitt after that loss. Clemson's favored by 12 in this one. It's in Pittsburgh for that game, so that's interesting storyline there. Klubnik, though, he's been fantastic for Clemson, 24 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. That's a great ratio, if you ask me. I like Clemson to win this game, and I think they could cover that spread. I'll be honest with you. I think they could cover the spread at 12.
I do too. Pitt, man, if you like, Trajan, if you're ever in the state of Pennsylvania and you run into Pitt not Pittsburgh Steelers, they're all right, but Pitt fans are just like, they're insufferable. They think they run the college landscape, which they play at, it's not even Heinz Field. I don't know what they call the Steelers Stadium anymore, but like they don't even have their own stadium. So like the whole Pitt notion that like they have a better college football program than Penn State is a joke. It's fun, to their credit, they were, undefeated till 2 weeks ago, and then they dropped the last 2 games. I mean, they get routed by SMU. It wasn't even a game. And then they come off that loss to Virginia, who Virginia's not, I mean, they're 5-4, they're unranked. So, I mean, you talk about fall from grace fast. I mean, this Pitt team, I mean, you hope they show something because of those 2 losses, but I think that SMU loss was like the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, because now it's like, now we have 2 losses unranked. Like the whole buzz around Pitt football has kind of gone to the wayside. So yeah, I think Clemson comes in and takes care of them. What you said, a 10-point spread or something like that?
Yeah, 10-point spread or 12,
Yeah.
12-point spread. 12-point spread. That's an odd spread.
It is, and I don't know. I mean, Pitt, they didn't really play anybody. That's the thing. Like before SMU, they didn't really play anybody of worth a ton of, magnitude there. So yeah, I could see that spread going either 3 in a row, and then it's like, wow, like what this season looked promising for not anything really. But
Agreed. Agreed, right there. So, yeah, that's about all we got for college football for the day. That's about all we got for college football. A lot of great games coming up this weekend. Can't wait to watch them there. But we got one big game or two big games coming this weekend for Wisconsin women's hockey. They're taking on the number 2 team. They're the number 1 team in the nation right now, 12-0 right now, taking on Ohio State this weekend. Great. I mean, that's a great matchup. Right now, they're currently in the first period, 11 to go in that first period, tied up 0-0. This has been a good game so far from what I've been watching here. I only can pull up the live stats. I can't pull up the rest of it at this point here, but I'm watching the live stats. Been a great game so far. Both teams 4 shots on goal at this point, and not a whole lot happening. So you're talking about a great battle between Ohio State and Wisconsin. They got this one tonight here, and then they'll play tomorrow night also there, Ohio State and Wisconsin. So hopefully we see the Badgers pull off 2 big wins there, move to 14-0, and stay at that number 1 team in the nation. Brantley Gilbert, one last thing before we move on here. We got to get to the fact of the day and the Packers here. We're running low on time. Brantley Gilbert says if Pitt can convert on 3rd downs, they might have a chance, but they haven't been able to. Interesting fact there for Brantley Gilbert. They got to be able to convert on 3rd downs here. We'll see what they can do coming up here against Clemson and a pretty good defense, I guess you would say, from Clemson. So, Aaron, what do we got today? Fact of the day.
I didn't want to go like I feel like American history is getting dragged through the mud at this point, so we're gonna
Running
switch.
out of things. Running out.
Yeah,
of things.
look, there is one big American history thing, but we'll push that to the side. Back in 2013, Sony released the PlayStation 4 and sold 1 million units in just 24 hours. So big hit, obviously, the PlayStation 4. I don't know. I used to be a PlayStation guy. All my friends growing up had Xbox, so I had to go that route. I don't know. What say you? Are you a PlayStation or are you an Xbox guy?
PS5 guy. PS5.
Okay, yeah,
I'm downloading Farming Simulator 25 tonight here. So gonna be balling out on that. They put tornadoes in the game now. So I'm gonna see what happens when I maybe get sucked up in a tornado on Farming Simulator. We'll see what happens there. Fantastic stuff.
I think for life, PlayStation has my heart. It's just I was kind of like forced to conform. I don't mind Xbox.
You were following the crowd. You were following the crowd.
Sometimes
you gotta do stuff like that. I got my fact of the day for you. On this day in 2014, Melvin Gordon set a NCAA record at the time with 408 yards on the ground against Nebraska. Wowza. That is impressive. 189 yards just in a single quarter. Wow. That is unreal. Like, that's hard to be. That was in 3 quarters, mind you. He ran for 408 yards in 3 quarters of football. They pulled him out in the 4th quarter, and then I believe the next day his record was broken by another guy who played all 4 quarters. So that sucks, because if he'd have played the 4th quarter, he probably, looking at that day, probably would have been up in the 500 range. Like, that is unreal. I would have put him out there. I would have said, screw it. Like, run out there for that 4th quarter, get 500 yards. Like, that's an unbreakable record at that point. Like, that'd be unreal. But heck, that's a great fact of the day there. I just had to bounce back with that one there. Dustin also, he told us timeout on the floor. UW Oshkosh leads number 6 Calvin 16-5. Hopefully we're talking about an Oshkosh win there. That'd be some good stuff there for Oshkosh on the road in Ohio. I don't know where. I've never heard of Calvin, Ohio. So yeah, that's about that. So Aaron, we got a big game coming up this weekend. I don't know if you count it as a big game. Bear fans probably don't want to play the games anymore, but there's a big game coming up, a rivalry game, right? Bears, Packers, you're going to be coming to us. The Bears are kind of, we talked about on Wednesday, they're limping into this one, right? They're limping into this one. They're not looking great. Everything, the locker room's turmoil, it's a mess, right? It's a mess. And it kind of makes me more worried, because a team that's like, it's like when you cage a cat, right? You don't want to cage a cat, because you put a wild cat in a cage, they go even more ballistic, right? This feels like this could be a dangerous situation. This is a team that's stumbling, but if you give them confidence, watch out, right? Would you almost be more worried about, if this was just Bears, Packers, normal season, normal crappy coaching going on in Chicago, but the locker room isn't a mess, all those kinds of things? I feel like I'd be less worried going into that kind of situation than I would be about a Bears team who has talent. They have ability. They just have terrible coaching. But if you give them a spark, they might explode. How do you feel about this one?
It's I'll put it to you more so this way. I think just because it's a division game, like I always stress that to you is just like it could be, Packers versus Lions when the Lions were winning, 3 games a year. Division games, the teams just for whatever reason get up for those games. So the fact that it's in Soldier Field, I don't know if how cold it is quite yet. It's probably getting there though. I mean, we're November now, so not that would rattle the Packers or anything. It's just, that place does go kind of crazy once, like, you watch games there. It's like, wow, like even though it's 10 degrees or 15, 20, like that's a rocking atmosphere. So I, to the point of like the turmoil thing, I mean, that can either hurt you or harm you, or hurt you or help you, I should say. I guess we won't know. Like, I don't know. Cause I don't trust like, Caleb Williams to, rally the troops. I mean, DJ Moore is like quitting on the plays. Like that to me spells more disaster where I'd kind of favor the Packers, but you never know. I mean, Caleb Williams is young in the development stages. Maybe he takes that leadership role this week and he's like, you know what? We're not mathematically out of anything. We're 4-5. There's something to play for here. Like I said, it's a division game. It's a rivalry. I mean, I give the Bears a chance because of those things. And it's in Soldier Field. So those couple things, but I mean, the Bears have this could be a team that doesn't, maybe they win 1 or 2 more games the rest of the year. Like that's a realistic point of view, I think, as well. So I'm really like, it's a toss up. Like I don't know. And like I said, it's a rivalry and it's a game the Bears kind of need to win. So
Yep.
it's I don't know. I will see. Like the only way I feel differently about this is when I see them line up on Sunday, because I don't know what this Bears team's made. Like to me, they feel like a Raiders team where they just mail it in. It's like, okay, well, like this is all we're blowing everything. We're the offensive coordinator's getting let go. Like it's just like it's just madness everywhere you turn. I don't know. It seems like too many problems to fix in one sitting or one season, I should say.
Yeah. No, and that's where if you're the Packers coming into this game, if you're Green Bay coming into this game, you need to step on that throat. Right? They're laying down already. They don't know what to do. They're laying down. You need to finish it, right? Early on, first like 10 minutes of this ball game. You need to set the tone that you guys are done. And
Yep.
if the Packers, let's just say early on in this game, they go up 2 scores or whatever it is, right? They just go up 2 scores early in this one. It's 14-0. The Bears will lose it. DJ Moore will lose it. This whole sideline will be going ballistic. They'll be checked out. You need to check the Bears out of this game before it even starts. You need to let them know we are better than you. Right now, you're in turmoil. You guys are in shambles at this point here, and you're not going to compete with us. This is our game now. This is ours, and you just bury it right then. Step on the throat, finish the job. That's plain and simple. Don't let the Bears hang around. If you go through that first 10 minutes and you're kind of in this like, Brantley Gilbert says there, loves throwing deep. He's throwing interceptions. You get into that kind of game there where you're struggling early in this game here. And, it's not as bad if like our both defenses are getting stops and you're getting off the field. Like that's expected in a rivalry game. But if the Bears are moving the football on you and the offense is coming out stagnant and they don't know, Packers offense looks like it has some rust coming off the bye week and it doesn't look good. Okay, now the Bears have confidence. They're like, we can do this. And then you got playmakers on that offensive side of the football for the Bears that will take advantage. So in this game, I'm early in this one. The Packers need to set the tone that this thing is over. This is over. We're the better team. We're done with it. Let's just move on move on. Let's just move on to the next game here. Let's just finish this one. So I'm looking at the Packers. I'm saying early in this one, you got to put this team away. Put them away, end it, just be done with it. And the Bears will they'll blow up right on the sideline there and it'll be over with. That'd be great. That'd be great. Injury report. Packers look good on the injury side. Jordan Love is finally off the injury report. That's a great sign. That is a great sign. A lot of the interceptions, you're talking about a guy who's been banged up too. So maybe him finally participating fully in practice, getting back into the groove of things, maybe that helps him out a lot too in those areas. So hopefully it does, right? But we see Jair, he's still questionable for Sunday. Kenny Clark, full practice on Friday. Engenbar was full practice. Josh Jacobs, full practice. Jenkins was a full practice. Marshawn Lloyd did come back to practice, but he had appendicitis. He finally comes back from his problems early on. He got injured. He's been out since week 2. And then he comes back. He's got 2 days of practice, and then he goes out with appendicitis. So, I mean, you can't make this up. Like, honestly, Matt LaFleur said the same thing. You can't make this up. Like, it just sucks trying to get – this is a explosive running back that we've been trying to get onto the field, and we just can't because he comes back, and now it's the appendicitis. So it's something after something. Hopefully, and prayers to him that everything goes well with him there and gets cleaned up. He's good to go here in a couple weeks or whatever it is, right? But we see Jordan Love. He's back full practice all week, so he's off the injury report. Jordan Morgan came back to practice. Now he's out with a shoulder injury again. This guy can't get healthy. It sucks, but he's out for the game. We see Josh Myers. He's back at practice. Great to see. I'm guessing he's going to play on Sunday. Rasheed Walker, he was at practice, full practice on Friday there. He's good to go. And then we see Evan Williams. He's questionable for Sunday. I don't think there's much that's going to hold this guy out. So if there's any glimmer of hope that he's going to play, he's going to play. And then Kobe Wooden was actually the only guy who did not practice at all this week. Jordan Morgan and Marshawn Lloyd did not both practice on Friday, but that was, Marshawn Lloyd did have appendicitis, so he gets a pass on this one. Like, you're good to go. Like, you take care of yourself there. And Jordan Morgan was injured again, so we'll see what happens on that side of it. So a relatively clean injury report, which is something great to see for the Green Bay Packers. You're finally getting healthy, getting the offensive line back together, which is huge, right? Because getting Josh Myers back, your center, you need your center back. Elton Jenkins slid over there, and he did an okay job, but didn't help that it was raining in Lambeau for the Lions game. Did not help at all for him in those categories. But we're looking at this Bears team heading into this one. The run defense is terrible. They have a terrible run defense. They have a good pass defense, especially in the red zone. They have I think they have the least amount of touchdowns given up there as a secondary. So you're looking at this game and you're saying, Josh Jacobs is the guy, right? Get the run game going early. Take care of it. I mean, that's where I'm looking at this one, is the run game to get going early for the Packers in this one. Aaron, is there anything you're seeing stat-wise with this Bears team that's sticking out to you, like good or bad, something to watch out for?
I will say that real quick. Do you think the Packers, like, it's not even so much like, do you think Caleb Williams throws at least one pick in this game? Like, I just want to. That's where I'm at, because
you're talking about one of the most. The Packers take opportunities when they can get them. They're a bend but don't break defense who has a lot of turnovers on the season there. I'm going to say yes. Xavier McKinney, he's been, dicing it up with the media this week about DJ Moore. I could see Xavier McKinney coming away with the interception in this one.
That's kind of where, like, I just feel like he's going to, like, it's just going to be one of those situations where he's going to force it a lot. Trying to pull up some things here. Here we go. Let's see what this gives me right here. But I feel like the Packers are kind of chomping at the bit to go against Caleb Williams here. Packers heavily favored. I don't know. They're saying like around a 40-point game in total for that. I'm trying to see, like, individual, like, this defense versus this. Usually I can find it, but let's see.
I got PFF grades up here. If we look at the Packers run defense, they're ranked 23rd. We look at the Bears run defense, they're ranked 16th. If we look at total defense on the season, the Packers are ranked in there at, they're way down the list, 18. Bears at 4th in the league right now. I think that has a lot to do with pass rush. Pass rush, they're 11th. The Packers are 24th. Coverage, so basically coverage of receivers, we see the Bears at 7 and the Packers at 9. And then tackling, which is a pretty big grade because the Packers suck at tackling, 17th in the league for the Packers, and the Bears are ranked 3rd overall in tackling on the season so far.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I throw everything out the window, but because it's a division game, it's like,
it don't matter. It don't matter. It can go any which way.
It almost doesn't matter. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter, but I don't know. In the last couple of years, because I did see something, but now I went away from that. Is it because I remember Aaron Rodgers, right? It was like I own you. I'm your
Packers have won the last 10 matchups. Eberflus says they're going to rewrite history in this one.
See, I don't like that either. That's bulletin board, but why would you do that? Why would you say that? You're a
If
team
he wasn't the coach, they'd have an opportunity, but he's still.
Yeah, I mean, let your play do the talking though. You're not a good team right now. I think they split the season series. Maybe the Packers get this one. Like I don't know. I trust LaFleur after a bye week. I do. I think he's like smart enough to where it's like he's not gonna overdo it, right? Like there's coaches out there that'll go on a bye week and like they'll just try and change everything. You'll see a team come out, it's like, okay, what are they doing? I think they'll stick to their way of playing. I do want to see them run the ball a good bit in this one, like you had mentioned a little bit there. It's getting to that time of year. Like you gotta assert yourself in the running game as well. Like you don't want Jordan Love throwing the ball a million times. Especially as it starts to get colder. Like let that offensive line eat. I know the Bears have a good defense, but I mean, see what you got there. See what you can do with Jacobs there in the backfield. Why not?
Yeah, no, I agree. And, the only thing that kind of makes me nervous is the Bears just fired their offensive coordinator and now they have a new one stepping in. And that could be nerve wracking because as a defensive coordinator like Hafley, you were preparing for, one offense with different kinds of tendencies and everything like that. And now you're preparing for a completely different, like this could look completely different than what we were thinking before. The playbook might be relatively the same, but there might be a little bit different, motions, whatever it is. He might have tried to implement a thing or two. So it changes how you prepare, and to have it midweek like they did, I believe it was Tuesday that they switched the offensive coordinator. That's, hard to prepare for if you're Hafley. So you're kind of looking into those things as the nerve-wracking parts. Is they're a mess and they're changing coaches at this point. It might change the, how the feelings are and how the defense has got to line up and different kinds of things. So that's kind of something I'm looking at there. But the big thing coming off the bye week that I'm watching out for, I want to see the Packers play smart football, limit the turnovers, and pre-snap penalties, right? We're talking about one of the most, penalized team pre-snap on the season so far, the Green Bay Packers. You got to watch that in this one. I want to see the Packers clean that up, limiting those turnovers and the drop passes. Can the Packers haul in some passes here in the second half after the bye week? Those some of the big things I'm watching for here. You had the bye week now. Hopefully you got a little bit of confidence back, focus, offensive line, receivers catching the football. There's the little things that the Packers need to clean up that will take them to the next level. So those are some of the things that we're looking for in this Packers-Bears matchup. What are, Brantley's asking us for the score predictions in this one. What's the score prediction? Bears-Packers.
I did get to see a little bit. I mean, these are kind of different stats, but for the Bears, real quick, average winning margin, they're winning on average by 15 points, but when they lose, they're losing by 10 points. So it's like it's kind of all or nothing if you look at it that way, where the Packers average winning margin, still 8.8, so nearly 9 points a game. Average losing margin by about 6, so a little less than a touchdown. Man, I've been picking the Packers pretty much all year, so it's like, do I go against that here? You know what? Man, I can't pick.
You're gonna take the Bears?
I can't pick them because they're just. I feel like that Washington game
Bears.
killed them. Washington, that game like broke their back, and now they've just been trying to pick themselves up ever since then. Give me the Packers by a field goal. I think the Bears will play good in this game just because of the new offensive coordinator. Like you'll see something different. You'll see them, just play with a different type of energy. Maybe DJ Moore is more, involved and he's not as mad. So, yeah, give me Packers 24-21 Packers.
It's a rivalry game. NFC North battle. Packers, Bears. It's going to be closer than people think. All right. It's going to be closer than people think. I'm going to put it at 38-17. Packers. All day.
Closer than people think.
Closer than people think. I had to set you up.
Water.
I had to set you up for that one. It's gonna be closer than people think on that one. 38 to
He
7.
said, "Keep in mind the Packers." Well, who's this guy? Is he a Bears guy or what?
No, he's the Vikings guy. He's the Vikings guy there.
Oh, that's right.
I'm gonna tell you what, Packers coming off a bye week, all Jordan Love has heard about. All Jordan Love has heard about. Interceptions, interceptions, interceptions. This, that. Jordan Love's not the same guy. He didn't deserve this contract. He didn't deserve that. The offensive line's been hearing about, hey, we suck. We have pre-snap penalties galore right now. You're just fueling it up. You're fueling up the boys at this point. They're coming in with a fire. The defense is going to play well. They're going to shake the Bears early on in this one by stomping on them and just not letting go. And the Packers will win this one in blowout fashion. I'm calling it now. Jordan Love he signed, Aaron Rodgers signed over the contract that said, you now own the Bears, right? He signed it over to Jordan Love. Jordan Love's going to take care of business. Packers win big. I like it. Let's book it. Let's look at some other matchups here coming up on Sunday. If there's some big ones, Lions, Jaguars, that's going to be a blowout. You can't even change my mind on that one. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is playing. Mac Jones stinks. Give me the Lions. Vikings, Titans, I don't see. Okay, hold on. Hold the horses. Hold them back for a second. Vikings, Titans in Nashville. Sam Darnold is coming off a terrible game against the Jaguars. He looks like he's coming back down to earth after that hot start. The Titans have a good defense, and they have a semi-competent, semi can make something happen quarterback in Will Levis. I don't know. They're favoring the Vikings by 6.5. I think, give me the upset. Give me the upset. Titans over Vikings, because the Vikings are on the road, and so far Sam Darnold has done nothing to prove me otherwise. I like the Titans in that one to pull off the upset.
I was looking at that too. I literally had the same thought. And Will Levis is back. Like, he played last game. That guy, he's so hard to keep. I mean, it's not like my team, so I'm not paying attention to it week to week. But like, he's banged up, then he's not, and he's banged up, then he's not. It's like one of those things. But I'd rather have Will Levis, even partially potentially banged up, than Mason Rudolph. Like, Mason Rudolph, just man. But yeah, give me the Titans here. I think Will Levis. I mean, they're having a bad year, but it's like they're at home. Like you said, the Vikings have flirted with disaster now a couple weeks in a row, and Darnold hasn't looked good in like 3 weeks. I think the Titans do just enough. Probably. I mean, the Vikings barely beat Jacksonville with Mac Jones. So as long as if you see the same type of performance with the offense, I expect Tennessee just to do a little bit more than what Mac Jones did. And because they only put 17 points on the board against the Chargers, but Levis was 18 of 23 for 175 and no turnovers. So I mean, that's not bad. It's just I mean, Vikings are. They might limp into the playoffs. I don't know.
They got good enough coaching to find a way. They got playmakers to find a way. Brantley tells us that no, it's all about how the O-line does. Sam Darnold do good. I'm telling you this now. The O-line might be a problem with the Vikings right now, but Sam Darnold's also a problem. I was watching some of those throws against Jacksonville. Those were air raid throws. Those were just airmailing receivers left and right and pushing the ball down the field when you didn't have to push the ball like that, forcing it into bad spots. So Sam Darnold's not making good decisions, and that leads to trouble. I mean, we're talking about Jordan Love before making bad decisions. Sam Darnold's not making great decisions right now. So that's something to keep an eye on there. That could be an upset, potentially an upset there. Let's get to the big games. There's a couple of big games happening on Sunday there. Ravens, Steelers at noon, 7-3 Ravens taking on the Steelers. It's in Pittsburgh. I'm going to take the Steelers to win that game. I think they beat. I like what Russ is doing. I like what, they've been able to do with that defense now. They added in Preston Smith. They got another pass rusher. I like the Steelers defense, and I like what Russ is able to do just enough, right? He's not blowing out the stat sheet. He's not making you look at him and say, this guy's an MVP. He's doing just enough to win football games. I like what I'm seeing with the Steelers. I'm going to take Steelers to win that game at home. I feel like next time around when the Ravens go on the road, or when the Steelers are on the road there, I think the Ravens win that one. But in this one, I like the Steelers to pull off this win.
Yeah, this one's a tough one. I think I am going to side with you here. I think the Ravens haven't seen a a defense quite like this in a little bit. And I don't trust the Ravens back end of their defense. And Russ is playing good. So yeah, give me the Steelers. I mean, these games are some of the best when these two teams are good. Like it doesn't get much better, honestly, is Ravens Steelers. That's just classic. And just kind of smash mouth football. It used to be at least more. But yeah, give me the Steelers. For whatever reason, Lamar has not beat the Steelers, I think, in like quite some time as well. I can't remember how many games, but yeah, it's in Pittsburgh too. So a lot going for the Steelers in this one. Battle. It was like kind of this Commanders Eagles game, but this is same thing here. Battle for the first seed in the division. So you give me the Steelers. Probably close. Probably really close actually. But
Okay. And we got another one. This one's kind of turning into one of those staple games. The Chiefs and the Bills. That'll be a 325 start for that one. They're giving the Bills 2 right now. It's in Buffalo. They're giving them 2. I think they do it. I think the Bills give the Chiefs their first loss of the season there. I think the Chiefs have just been skating, right? They're like that little girl down at the ice rink there. They're just skating around at this point here. And they haven't been tested yet. And I think this is the game where they get tested. And I think the Bills win this game. I'm not saying that they're going to win it going away. I'm not saying that the Chiefs are, that's just going to make them implode or anything like that. But I think the Bills win this game and they give the Chiefs the loss.
do I feel confident enough to do that? I don't yet. I still think the Chiefs like do it here. It's in Buffalo. I know it's in, but man, and they're giving, Bills are favored
by 2. That's like basically saying nothing. That's
yeah,
like
it's
saying
at
that
home. Like it's
nobody thinks this game's one way or another.
Man. Offensively, power. Yeah, I mean, even Kansas City sitting there at 7th in offense isn't like crazy, but Bills are 11th. Give me the Chiefs, but I would not be shocked at all if it goes the way you're saying. Like the Chiefs have barely escaped. I mean, how many games this year?
Yeah.
At some point, they're not going to. So
somebody's got to beat them. I got that feeling it could be the Bills. I know they got the Steelers on the docket. Somebody will take care of them, give them a loss there. They have to get humbled, right? You got to get humbled at some point. I think this could be that game against the Bills here. So, I mean, Aaron, anything else? We ran a little long, got a little bit past the hour 30 mark there. Anything else you got to wrap us up for the day there?
Some little news out of the MLB. I'll just want to get your take on it. Is obviously we know the A's are going to be playing in Sacramento at a AAA stadium. Now the Tampa Bay. Did you hear about the Tampa Bay Rays?
Yeah. Where are they? The Yankees. They're going to be playing at the Yankees minor league facility.
Yeah, which is super. I mean, it's the Yankees. Obviously, it's got to be creme de la creme as far as facilities go. But it's still like I think it holds 15,000 or so. It holds I think it holds 10,000, and the Rays average 15,000 in attendance. So that's suck. That's just this is baseball, right? Like now there's 2 teams going to be playing, and they're both in the American League. So now 2 out of the 15 teams in the American League are playing in like minor league stadiums. Basically, it's just I don't know. I get it because this was kind of like an act of God, if you want to say, or act of Mother Nature, whatever, right? You couldn't control the fact that their roof got just completely, utterly destroyed. But man, it's just not we would never see this. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I guess it could happen in like the NFL if they don't have time to fix it, right? But it's like I don't know. It's how do you feel about just like baseball is letting this guy like we saw in the NHL, the Arizona Coyotes played at University of Arizona Stadium for a year or 2, and then the Blue Jays played up there in Buffalo during the COVID year. But now it's 2 teams. It's like I don't know, man. It's just not a good look, in my opinion. I don't know what you do, but
you can't do anything about the Rays portion. I mean, that, like you said, that was act of God coming down and taking off the stadium roof. Like, not much you can do about that one. I mean, the only other thing you could do is go to a college stadium at that point. Like you can maybe go to a college stadium and ask them to play, but I don't know if the capacity increases that much there. I mean, it's just nothing you can do about that. The A's situation's a whole different one. We could talk about that all night here. I mean, that's just a mess. That's a disaster. But I mean, there's the Rays are like, what else are you supposed to do? Just not play baseball for the year, play all road games. Like it's just
Play
it's
in like
tough.
Louisiana or something. Like just play somewhere completely different.
The Yankees, they should have just said like, "Hey, you can use our stadium for the year, not charge us $15 million to use the stadium."
Yeah.
Like I mean, for a Rays organization that can barely afford to pay $15 million to a player, and now they have to pay $15 million just to play. Like it's rough, right? It's rough, but you got to do what you got to do. I mean, it sucks. It really does. But that one's out of the MLB's hands. The A's situation, that's in their hands. They allowed it to happen. It's the MLB, their money. Who cares? Like they don't care. Like the A's aren't driving up revenue for MLB, so they don't care. Like they basically could just said, you guys do what you want to do out there in California. We're just gonna worry about the Yankees and the Dodgers and everything else. You guys just do what you want to do there with the Oakland A's. So I mean, it sucks. It really does, but it's just how it's got to be. Maybe we just make it a rule every team has to play at their minor league facilities. Every team just got to play at the minor league facilities for the year. I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay
That
with
would
that
be
right
cool.
there.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
why not, right?
I
I
mean, we
think
talked about it. We talked about having like one game where you play at like your AAA stadium or your AA stadium, like having every MLB team do that. I think it'd be a cool concept.
it can't hurt, right? Like, and it would drive traffic to like some of these smaller towns in
Yep.
the United States. It's just, man, like I don't know that I maybe if they I don't know. Like if every owner, they would never do this, but I guess if every owner pitched in like 1 million, could they have fixed it? Like, could they have been close to fix? Because it was just the roof. It's not like the entire stadium needed rebuilt. But I don't know. Tropicana Field it sucks as it. I mean, this should like motivate them to build another stadium. But you already touched on the fact that they don't spend money, so it's like
No,
I don't
no.
know
And
what
that's a
you do.
complicated roof too. I mean, that's a lot of canvas. There's a lot that goes into them that I mean, we don't know. Like it did look like it was just a roof. I don't have the story up or anything to be able to tell you
Yeah.
exactly what was wrong. But there could have been more stuff that was damaged or wrong with the stadium that we didn't know about, maybe flooding, different things like that. Like there could be a lot more that has to go into the stadium. Maybe it does push them to get that new site built and get a new stadium into there because what's the difference between building, basically rebuilding the old one or building a new one, probably a couple $1 billion. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do, right? You got to do what you got to do. So, I mean, anything else we got to wrap us up here for the night?
No, I don't think so. No Juan Soto news yet. So
No Juan Soto news. We're waiting for it. We're waiting for it there. We got a big weekend ahead of us, right? Tonight, Wisconsin, Arizona should be an epic battle there on Peacock. Hopefully, a great game. We got the ceremony happening before and at halftime, where Bo Ryan's, not really a jersey, but his name will be raised up in the rafters. They'll be honoring the Final Four teams tonight there against Arizona. I mean, should be a fantastic game. Wisconsin, Oregon come up this weekend. Hopefully, we don't get murdered. Hopefully, it's just like I don't know, 34 to like, I don't know, 14 game. Like I can live with that. We move on with life after that one. And then we got Packers Bears. Can't wait for that one. Big weekend in sports all the way around though. Lots of good games. And we can't wait to recap them here on Sunday. So make sure you guys are coming back Sunday for our weekend recap show. But with that, for Aaron and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for all tuning in. We hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. But until we talk to you guys again on Sunday, see ya.